Hey y'all, this is recap for Monday, August 24th. Just going over really quickly what we did in class. So if you check it out on Google Classroom, for the Do Now, I had you just take a look at two presentations. One is called The Mindset for the Class, and I went through a lot of these ideas about how we should think about distance learning. So like nobody signed up for this, the humane option is the best option. It's just not going to be the same online, so we shouldn't try to make it that way. Academics are not the only priority. You should make sure you are taking care of other things and yourself, as well as we're just going to have to adjust. So you can take a look at this presentation. Please go through it and really try to internalize this because we're all going through this distance learning stuff together. So I went through that. I also went through a quick recap of week one in terms of the big things that I wanted you to think about and remember from week one. So I talked about, like, these were all of the logistics that we went through. Here is how we've been trying to build community in the class. Here are the big framework discussions that we had in terms of like what is environmental science. We talked about the fires, and on Monday I talked about how you should really have emergency evacuation plans ready with whoever is at your home just in case you have to evacuate. And then we talked about ecological footprint. I talked a lot about how there are some things in our ecological footprint that we cannot necessarily control, and that a lot of this is systemic, right? We talked about how America as a country has a particular culture and values surrounding consumerism and always wanting the newest best thing, which makes our footprint much higher than maybe, say, some other countries like Brazil, where they have other values and focuses that they think about. So footprint as being this measure of land, but stuff that we can't always control. We have some control, but not all of it. And then finally, I just recapped a little bit about ecosystems and the things that we talked about. Afterward, we took a little bit of break. We did a little bit of chatting on our Zoom call, and then I went over this food webs and trophic levels lecture. I'm going to go ahead and post a separate video to that, so please check Google Classroom for the actual link to the lecture. But I talked about things like producers, consumers, trophic levels. We had some examples, and I talked about doing a little bit of math with the 10% rule. We looked at some food chains, food webs, and we had some interesting discussions about what is a producer consumer, what is this or that. So the purpose of that lecture was so that you could complete this food web interactive. So this is the homework that you should have done and should be doing. Here are the directions, and here are some readings that you should do. But basically, you are going to design a food web that kind of looks like this. Here are the organisms you get to choose from, and here are the slides where you'll go ahead and make your food chains. So you're going to make 3 food chains, and then you're going to make 1 bigger food web. And you should make sure you're using the correct organisms, and also the arrows are pointing in the correct direction of that's where the energy is flowing, not who is eating what, right? And then finally, you've got, I think, about 10 questions of just recapping what we talked about in the lecture and also about your food chains and food webs that you did. Cool. So once this is done, go ahead and submit it on Google Classroom. And that is the stuff that we completed on Monday. Cool. See y'all next time.